All right, let's talk bookending 49ers trips to the East Coast and give a little airport review while we're at it. This is Reagan National Airport in DC. Life hack, fly into Reagan if you're coming to DC. It's 12 minutes from the city and you've got some of the most beautiful airport architecture in the US. A lot better than Dulles or Baltimore. You got to travel over an hour. Anyway, the 49ers came out here to the East Coast at the beginning of December and they broke the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember the 2017 49ers? Kyle Shanahan's first year, they started 1-10, became the first NFL team in history to start 1-10 and finish 6-10 with those 5 wins at the end of the season. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles are the literal inverse of that. They started 10-1. They become the first team in at least 35 years to drop to 11-5 from 10-1. So it's been a complete collapse from the Eagles. They've lost 4 out of 5, triggered by that San Francisco blowout. The Eagles, these guys had an aura about them, right? They won the NFC Championship last year. They came into this season winning a ton of close games. Everybody was saying, oh, Jalen Hurts, not everybody, but a lot of people were saying Jalen Hurts is the MVP because he's pulling out close games for the Philadelphia Eagles. But then the 49ers came in and scored touchdowns on 6 straight possessions. They contained Hurts to the pocket, made him beat him as a quarterback, and he wasn't able to beat him as a quarterback. And all of a sudden, that aura of the Philadelphia Eagles completely disappeared. Gone, poof, vanished. They went on to lose to the Dallas Cowboys in a blowout. They went on to lose to the Seattle Seahawks in a close game. Hell, Drew Lock beat them. They obviously lost yesterday against the Arizona Cardinals, and that happened as the 49ers came back out here to the East Coast to beat the Washington Commanders and lock up the 1 seed. So what a month it was. The first game of December for the 49ers was a win on the East Coast against Philadelphia. That broke the Eagles. They lost that aura. They turned into just a pathetic team over the course of December. And the 49ers finished the job by flying back out here to the Eastern time zone, beating the Cardinals and locking up the number 1 seed. The Eagles won't get it. The Eagles might have to go on the road in the postseason because they're slipping even in their divisional race against the Dallas Cowboys, who, with some help from the officials, were able to beat the Detroit Lions. So, boy, what a turnaround it was. I'll tell you this about the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense ranks number 30 in EPA per play. Number 30 in the league. So they've gone from a top 3 unit last season to number 30 this season. We talked about the arms race at the top of the NFC over the course of this offseason. Obviously, this is not all Javon Hargrave leaving Philadelphia, coming to San Francisco, but that's one of the components of Philadelphia's decline. Another component is the teams figured out that what Deebo Samuel was saying was true, that Philadelphia couldn't really cover anybody in the back 7, that it was all pass rush generated, and if you could keep that pass rush at bay, or if you could scheme a little bit around it with some quicker passes, then you could expose the back end. James Bradbury, on the Drew Lock drive for Seattle against the Eagles there at the end of the game, it was James Bradbury who gave up 5 catches in 1 drive, and that's who Deebo Samuel called trash at the Super Bowl last year, or leading up to the Super Bowl last year. So it appears that Deebo Samuel was right. It also appears that the Eagles were a bully that just wasn't ready for adversity. As soon as adversity hit, things went sideways for the Eagles, and now they're talking about injuries and all that, but they certainly didn't want to talk about injuries when Brock Purdy got hurt in the NFC Championship game last season. So that's how the league works. You've got to be able to overcome some of the attrition of the season. And when you lose your quarterback, then that's something that you are not expected to overcome, obviously. But other positions, you've got to build up the depth to be insulated against it. And obviously the Eagles did not have the depth to be insulated enough against the injuries that they suffered, against the attrition that they underwent with somebody like Javon Hargrave moving to the 49ers, and they tumbled to the number 30 defense in the NFL this season. Just not good enough to get the job done. So yes, the 49ers did deal the Eagles that breaking blow. The Eagles have bled out since then. They're still going to be in the postseason. Anybody in the postseason is dangerous, but it is remarkable to me how 2 trips to the East Coast have bookended such a remarkable surge from the San Francisco 49ers. It sets it up here for the month of January. They've got some rest now. Obviously get to lick any of their wounds, maybe treat some of the injuries that popped up here against Washington. We're going to get an update from Kyle Shanahan in a little bit, but Christian McCaffrey's got the calf issue. Eric Armstead is dealing with the plantar fasciitis in his foot. And the 49ers are also trying to get Aaron Banks back to health at left guard. That being said, Aaron Banks with a turf toe didn't start at left guard, but he did play some special teams for the 49ers against the Washington Commanders. So that's a decent sign on the Aaron Banks front. As far as Washington, D.C. goes, well, I mentioned this is a cool airport here at Reagan. It's closer to the city. They've got, I mean, this is, for an airport, this is unbelievable architecture. This is how they used to build stuff in America. Unfortunately, modern architecture has gotten away from these classic grand halls, the big archways, but you can see the planes right outside, and we'll be back on our way to San Francisco. 49ers Rams on Sunday, I think it's going to be low-key fun. I think you're going to see some players who don't normally have the opportunity to do so try to put their best football on tape. And that's all you can ask for. On top of that, you can't rest everybody. And Kyle Shanahan made the point yesterday that there's still a lot that he wants to work on, a lot that he wants to make sure that the 49ers improve as a football team ahead of the playoffs. So they're going to be using practice very seriously this week to improve some facets of their game. I think offensively, they still want to be a little bit sharper blocking-wise in their run game. They want to eliminate any procedural issues that might pop up in the postseason. They want to make sure that short game is on point. I talked about Brock Purdy in a different video, and I said, you know, Brock is... Now he has a historically good season under his belt fully, because I don't know if he's going to play on Sunday, and we're just going to count the stats through these first 16 games. We haven't seen anything like the intermediate efficiency that he's delivered this year. We haven't seen anything like the deep passing efficiency and accuracy that he's delivered this year. He's doing it off schedule. He's doing it on time. He's avoiding the giveaways, right? He had the 4 against Baltimore, but he bounced back against Washington in a big way. Now it's going to be about overcoming the scrutiny of the postseason. Defenses are going to be game planning even harder against Brock Purdy and the 49ers. You got to be on your P's and Q's if you're San Francisco, but you're going to have that freshness advantage, and you're also going to have the advantage of the fact that Purdy's been through this before. He played well last year against the Cowboys in the postseason in a really gritty game. And then I thought that he started well against the Eagles before he got hurt in that NFC Championship game. Obviously, there was the wild card round where Purdy threw for, nearly 400 yards against the Seattle Seahawks. So he's been there, done that. He's tapped into that experience already this season. But the experience is going to come in even more handy this time around, because it's the second time to the playoffs. The 49ers have a stronger roster, I think, than they did at this time last year. And they now have time to focus their practice efforts over the next couple weeks on refining the details that will be needed in postseason play. They're not going to be necessarily gunning toward beating the Rams, right, in Week 18, because that game doesn't matter. They're going to be trying to refine the details that need to be refined. They can iron out any quirks right now. They can iron out any stuff that isn't quite on point as they prepare for a postseason run. That is the glory of the 1 seed. That is the benefit of home field advantage. The 49ers have earned it. It started on the East Coast, and the job of securing that finished here on the East Coast in Washington, D.C.